I've gone through your latest report where you call it global growth divergent and uncertain, where you're saying that it's going to be 3.3% global growth both in 2025, 2026. That's below what the historical trend has been. What do you see as some of the primary headwinds impacting this?
Yeah, so Vishnu, first of all, a pleasure to join you. We see global growth holding steady at 3.3%, but as you mentioned, it's quite divergent. On the one hand, we see the US as quite strong.
Yeah.
We've been upgrading our forecasts. Well, on the other hand, Europe is somewhat weaker, and China also has its own challenges. Now, in terms of what countries need to do so that we have more balanced growth in the world, I think it's pretty country-specific, and it's going to vary country by country. In the case of China, there's a lot more they need to do on the property sector, bringing up domestic demand. In Europe, they have to take actions to raise productivity, get growth going, and so on. So at the same time, there are a lot of developments on the external front when it comes to geopolitical tensions, trade policy in the world. And that's something that governments around the world will have to, deal with.
Right. Well, we were looking at, you've also obviously mentioned India. It is a very large growing economy, but your words are cautionary, I would say. Growth in India also slowed more than expected, led by a sharper than expected deceleration in industrial activity. A couple of years back, we were well above 7%. The target has always been 8% plus. What does India need to do to get back to those 8% plus levels?
Yeah. I mean, firstly, just to put things in perspective, India remains the fastest growing major economy in the world at 6.5%.
Yeah.
Now, the growth is lower than what we had initially expected, and that reflects the fact that in the second half of last year, 2024, we saw a slower start to public investment following the elections. Now, we expect that to bounce back, which is going to bring back some of the recovery. We're also seeing the rural sector consumption strengthening, which is something that we had expected that it would. But more generally, in terms of getting growth to higher levels on a more durable basis, I mean, India will have to continue to do some of the things it's doing, which is public infrastructure investment, keep at it, make sure that the timelines are met, improve the ease of doing business. Being able to buy and sell land should be an easier job than what it is right now, and plugging India back into the global supply chain in a much more stronger way, which will require, cutting back some of the tariffs that they have, which are quite high.
Yeah. The target for India, of course, is to become a $10 trillion economy, to become developed, I think, by 2047. The first target of $10 trillion in terms of the Indian economy, do you believe that's achievable in the finite future?
For 2047 is a long way off.
Yes.
And the world is not remaining stationary. There's lots that happen.
Sure.
Again, it is one of those, it's a good aspiration to have, and it's going to take much bigger structural reforms than what we've seen in the last decade.